So everybody is really mad about the Walking Dead Secret Lair. When it was first announced and shown off during like the Zendikar preview video stream thing with Jimmy and that lot, no one was really that mad. Some people were like, okay, it's a weird tie-in and it feels like it's past the point that it's relevant, but no one was really all that mad. Then yesterday, shortly afterwards, the coach upset the community, which is a common occurrence, but they only banned Uro when many people, well, by many I mean everyone, thought they should ban more than just Uro in Standard. They decided to drop the mic, or perhaps go one step further and be like, well, they're annoyed already, we can't make them any more annoyed, right? So they announced that the new Secret Lair, the Walking Dead Secret Lair, will have mechanically unique new cards, never seen before, not in a set, probably not in a set afterwards, being printed into the Secret Lair. So we're going to have cards that are aesthetically, thematically Walking Dead, and also brand new, mechanically, and they won't be available anywhere but that Secret Lair. Okay. Not that weird. We've had it before. We've had My Little Pony, and we've had Transformers, and we've had Nerf, and we've had Dungeons and Dragons, all put in a silver border in some promo packs. Difference was, they were silver bordered. These aren't. These will be playable in Legacy, Vintage, and Command. Now, Command is the big one, which I'm going to talk to more in a moment, but some people are like, well, Legacy and Vintage, who cares? Well, I care. This is a format that I love greatly, and we know that when they print things into those sets without really thinking about it, we end up with things like True Name Nemesis. So it just sounds like a bad idea. Why couldn't they have made them silver bordered? And then beyond the silver bordered option, there was the way they treated Godzilla cards in Ikoria. There were quite a few people that were pissed off with the way that the Godzilla cards were handled in Ikoria. I was not one of them. I was like, it's fine, it's just a thing that Godzilla people sounds like a small island somewhere where they all just dress up as Godzillas. Godzilla fans can get the cards they want and enjoy them, but they're just thematically flavourful skins that go over other existing cards. So we've had two ways in which they can do this Walking Dead thing in the past. Either silver bordered, which means that people can play with them in Commander if their group allows it and they can have that Rule Zero discussion, or they can have them as the thematic skins of other cards in the current set, therefore not damaging the availability of them and allowing them to be played in current standards and so on. But instead we've gone for uniquely mechanical cards. Okay, so this isn't new, but it's something they haven't done for a very long time. There are two examples of this that I want to talk about as a bit of a history lesson. Nalathni Dragon and Mana Crypt & Co. Let's start with Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt was after the dragon, but it was a promo for a book, alongside a handful of other cards that ended up not being as influential or sought after. For example, Giant Badger was another one of these cards that came with books exclusively, wasn't in a set at the time. A card that is now simply remembered, well, or not remembered as the case may be, as an 8th edition draft uncommon, forgotten about, left in the annals of Magic's history. But Crypt, on the other hand, became, over time, an absolute powerhouse of a card. It is sought after in Commander and it is restricted in Vintage because it is quite possibly one of the best mana rocks ever printed, and they put it as a way to sell a book. But it was desirable, so they must have reprinted it, right? Just like they did with Charging Badger in 8th edition. Well, Mana Crypt was $100 back in July 2013 when Goldfish's price tracking began. It jumped to around $250 around the Journey into Nyx release, and probably from a buyout, perhaps, and it flattened out and began to climb again later. This card came out in 1995. They finally caved the demand and reprinted it in a set in Eternal Masters in 2016. If my math serves me correctly, and I'm not really much of a mathematician, that's 11 years it took them to put it into a set. And they put it into a premium priced, limited print run set, because fuck people who want Mana Crypts, am I right? Do you think if Negan or the unseen Rick Grimes rocks Legacy to its core, that they would print it in a meaningful way quick enough? I mean, history doesn't suggest as much, and if we look at how they've handled the reprinting of other desirable cards in recent times, it's quite unlikely. Mark Rosewater has said on Twitter that they could do this. If these cards prove popular enough, they could do this. But like I also dunked a little bit on Twitter, Headstands are popular and they consistently fuck up the reprinting of those, so my confidence isn't at an all-time high. Then we have another variant of this promo, this unique promo approach. Nalathni Dragon is a garbage fucking card. It's wonderful and evocative of a time when creatures were often a pile of absolute shite. A 4-mana 1/1 with flying and banding, something that I won't get into because, well, I don't really understand it. It's hanging out in the art with that creature from the movie 5 Children and It. It also has banding. I've already said it has banding, but I just want to go back to that. This has banding, and it has fire breathing. But if you pump it too much, it dies at the end of turn. Maybe the fire breathing and banding actually makes it function a little bit better than I'm assessing it looking at it, but I've never understood this card to be any good. The flavor text shows us where this card came from, DragonCon 1994, perhaps suggesting they planned to do this at other conventions down the line as well. Entrants to DragonCon in 1994 were given a mail-in ticket or a postcard to mail off for a copy of this card. As Maro observed in a 2009 article about unknown facts around Magic the Gathering, he says, the Laughing Dragon was originally given away to attendees at DragonCon in 1994. As I've now said that 3 times in this video, I'm sorry. The complaints from the audience were so vocal that Wizards decided to never again print functionally unique cards outside of expansions. Because of the outrage, the Dragon was put into 1 or 2 issues of the Duelist magazine to allow people who didn't or physically couldn't get to the DragonCon event to get hold of the card to complete their collections. I don't think it was a competitive staple, but obviously this was when Magic was very, very new, and some people were obsessed with collecting one of everything, kind of like baseball cards and similar. And if the reserve list has taught us anything, it's that Wizards of the Coast are willing to look after collectors more so than players. I'm just going to reiterate the statement that Maro said. The audience was so vocal that Wizards decided to never again print functionally unique cards outside of expansions. So what the fuck changed? We fast forward 11 years and we see this tie-in with The Walking Dead, and it's kind of the perfect storm of frustrations and anger anyway. There is a vocal minority that really doesn't want the immersion of their game world to be broken by Godzilla, The Walking Dead, or the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man mounting and riding a steed made from like Heinz baked bean cans or some shit. I get it. Well, I get it a little. I don't know how y'all react to altars and sleeves with people's favourite pop culture references on it. That's a conversation I don't care to even engage in. But like I said, it's a perfect storm. Like, let's talk about the actual tie-in itself. I'm not like upset about The Walking Dead. I quite liked The Walking Dead early on. I like many got kind of fed up with its overly. I've drunk that glass of water and it's kind of winded me a little bit. I should have drank that whole glass. I was watching The Walking Dead. I thought the pilot and the first couple of series, season 1 and 2, were pretty good. I liked it. I really like Glenn as a character. I hope nothing bad happened to him. But it just feels like weirdly untimely. It feels like the heyday of that show is gone. But it is still one of the biggest series ever created, I guess. I haven't looked up its viewership numbers, but I'm assuming it's still pretty big, even if the popular consciousness, the zeitgeist has moved on a little. I guess we are all dealing with our own end of the world in many ways, so post-apocalyptic fiction has kind of got boring for many, and the show was incredibly bleak, to the point of like, come on. And then of course, beyond the weirdness of the tie-in, and also the bad fit, right? Dungeons and Dragons, that's coming up next year, I'm excited for, because I think D&D and Magic are a very good fit. Machine guns and zombies, not so much. It's funny that they avoid guns and Magic at every opportunity, to the point that they disowned the old, like, gun-toting Troika or whatever they were, the White Faction and the Portal sets of my youth. But here we are using The Walking Dead as a tie-in. It's a bit strange, honestly. But Secret Lairs. Secret Lairs are also a problem. Probably the most criticised or heavily criticised and problematic of all the products Wizards have ever put out. It preys on FOMO, the fear of missing out, the exclusivity that benefits people with higher cash flows and readily available cash. Accessibility from some countries is borderline non-existent, whilst others just pay huge taxes again, costing them more money to get hold of these fucking cards. Some of the Secret Lairs have been cool alternative designs, things like the Explosion Sounds one that I was lucky enough to preview, or the Kaleidoscope one that the Command Zone previewed from the very first batch, or the Godzilla Lands one. Others, however, have put much needed reprints behind a paywall that amounts to essentially spitting in the face of the respective audience and engaging in the secondary market whilst explicitly lying to your fucking face that they don't acknowledge it. Because of the Secret Lair Fetchlands release, because of the way the PR for that was handled, all of these things, and also then don't forget the fulfillment of the orders for Secret Lairs. Don't forget they have fell behind. The sheer quantity of them. We were already complaining that there was too much Magic product and we could do with slowing down a little bit, and the response to that was to give us a Secret Lair every month, often more than once a month. I was at a GP, was it Reno, where someone joked, I wonder if there'll be a Secret Lair announced next week, and there was, and there'd already be one the previous week. Was it International Women's Day to Thalia? It's crazy. It's crazy how many of them are. All of these things compound together to make Secret Lair a frustrating product. So then when you add the mechanically unique thing they've gone back to for some bizarre reason, it makes it a perfect storm of frustration. I can get why people are mad. So lastly, let's talk about why mechanically unique cards in this sort of thing is bad. If you didn't get it from all that I've said so far, if they're mechanically unique, they may well be desirable. For Commander, obviously, because like cards like Negan and Michonne, they do look mechanically very cool and interesting. I think those cards look generally quite fun to play with. If they are desirable, they will demand a high price tag, and they'll only be available directly from Wizards of the Coast for a short period of time. If they become popular or playable in Legacy or Vintage, which is not outside the realms of possibility, whilst these cards don't jump off the page as being auto-includes in Nick Fit or Loam or some such nonsense, don't forget Palace Jailer, Queen Marquesa. Like, there's been cards that have come into Legacy or Vintage and been playable that people just did not expect. So it's easier than you think to misstep and design a card that you think isn't playable, and then it is. I mean, they did make Mana Crypt as one of these promos many, many moons ago, and you'll say perhaps they've learnt from their mistakes. But honestly, you can forgive me if my confidence levels in the design process and the design mentality and just the designs coming out of Wizards at the moment are an all-time low after 2019 and 2020's complete shit shows of bannings and ridiculous releases. Maybe the Walking Dead cards won't be broken to the point that they become legacy staples and then become highly expensive cards because there's only a few number by comparison in existence. But the next set could have that. And what would the next set be? Is it The Walking Dead? Is it Ronald fucking McDonald? I don't want to say it's a slippery slope, but I think it opens a door that we don't need to open. I don't understand what making these black border and then also making them less accessible than other cards does, other than be harmful to the game. The upside is that some Walking Dead fans get cards that they're excited to play with, and I guess there's some limited stuff for the collectors. The downside is that it can fuck eternal formats, it can make very expensive cards that are again inaccessible, that we then have to like clamber for reprints of, that then Wizards of the Coast will perhaps not reprint in a way that people think is adequate. And just see what I mean? Like, the upside does not outweigh the potential downsides of doing this, especially when they have successfully done this in Ikoria. No one is looking back on the Godzilla thing and screaming that it was bad. Okay? The only thing about Ikoria that anyone remembers was bad was companions. Maybe if you make one busted mechanic every set, it will overshadow all other potential mistakes. But all jokes aside, they've successfully implemented the Godzilla cards, and barring a few people getting upset on Facebook groups because their delicate egos couldn't take My Little Pony in Silver Border or Godzilla in alternate skins, no one really cared that much. But instead, we now have functionally, mechanically unique cards that bring a whole new can of worms to open up. And it's just tiring, I guess. It's tiring that... Oh god, I'd hate to work for Wizards. It feels like they can't catch a break. And I wonder if any of this is even the design team's fucking doing. This is a contract between ABC and Hasbro, isn't it? Anyway, that's the lowdown. That's a bit of a history lesson. That's why people are mad, both from an aesthetic and thematic point of view, of their game being a bit polluted by other franchises that don't feel like a good fit, but also primarily from the accessibility to these new cards that are uniquely only available for a small window directly through Wizards of the Coast, which is something they've done before, people complain about, they said they'd never do again, and now they're doing it. If they can break that promise, that verbal promise, can they not break the reserve list promise? No, because their promises to collectors are more important than their promises to players. Because I guess collectors are more likely to buy more stuff, maybe? I don't know. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you as angry as everyone else? I do want to say one more thing before I sign off, is that I don't think we should be bombarding the fucking rules committee of Commander to preemptively ban these. Even if they are on the same side of this argument that these things are dumb, I don't know if fucking banning them and hurting the few people that buy them because they just genuinely love The Walking Dead, that doesn't seem like a good thing to do. That seems kind of dickish. But what I would say is, if you don't like these things like I don't fucking buy them. Okay, as a content creator, I will probably, if the demand is there, end up playing a Walking Dead legacy deck in a video where I play all the Walking Dead cards and some sort of build of Nick Fit or something. But I won't do that as a content creator. I think we should take a stand that I will not be buying it, and I think if you don't like this, don't fucking buy it. There'll be enough collectors and speculators buying this shit already to make the thing at least marginally successful. So don't make it overblown successful. Even if you think you can make some money off buying it and selling it later down the line, if you're not strapped for cash, just take the hit, right? Put your money where your mouth is, vote with your wallet, and don't buy the fucking thing if you don't like it. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. I would love to hear what you think in the comment section below. Be good to one another. Don't be shitty to each other on the internet just because Wizards have made some mistakes. Don't be shitty to Wizards employees. It's probably not their fault this is happening, honestly. And until next time, ta-ta for now.